I'm Day, your host, travel lover, deal finder, and storyteller. And this is Wander Every Day, the podcast where real talk meets real trips. Each week, I sit down with some of my favorite well-traveled friends to swap stories. We're diving in on where to stay, what to eat, how to spend your time and money, and how to enjoy exploring the world. Now, let's wander. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in to the very first episode of Wander Every Day, the podcast where we dive in to real travel stories and smart recommendations with people who know how to wander well. On today's episode, I'm joined by my friend Samantha, who has so much to share about her honestly super epic trip to Thailand and Vietnam. We will review her trip, her recommendations, enjoy a few travel stories, and finish with some listener questions. But before we dive in, I briefly want to take a moment, being the first episode and all, to explain to listeners the origin story of Wander Every Day. My husband and I are currently planning our second trip to Italy and our first trip to Switzerland this fall. I love travel content. Guidebooks, YouTube, friends' recommendations, but I've never had success finding a podcast which provides travel advice like what I find on other platforms. After much deliberation and discussion, I realized that I feel like I had the resources I need at my own disposal, and a lot of that came from my friends. I feel like most of my free time I spend speaking with my friends is often about travel, whether it's just a small trip within our own country of Canada, or whether it's across the world in Asia, Europe, South America, even in the Caribbean. It's so nice to connect with my friends and we can share stories. I love listening to people talk, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to people tell me their stories. So in combination with that, as well as my passion for travel and my passion for sharing recommendations, I thought it would be a great idea to start Wander Every Day. Thank you for listening to me just quickly chat about that for a minute, because I want you to know that Wander Every Day is something that I'm very passionate about, and I hope to share that passion and many recommendations and travel stories with you. Now, on to my episode with Samantha about her trip to Thailand and Vietnam. Without further ado, I need to not only introduce, but also set the scene for my first ever podcast guest. Sam is the type of friend who is always up for an adventure or an activity. She's my quote-unquote frugal friend, even more frugal than me, so I know she has some great stories and recs to share on the pod for our value budget travelers. From scaling and sleeping on the sides of mountains in Peru, to celebrating Oktoberfest in Germany or kissing the Blarney Stone, my friend Sam is a seasoned traveler who I can guarantee knows how to travel without breaking the bank. Sam, welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
Honestly, I think you're the perfect first guest for me for a million reasons. One, because you're actually a close friend of mine, I'd say. Second, I feel like your travel style relates to a lot of people who would listen to the podcast. Not that you don't luxury travel, but I feel like the travel etiquette you have is very budget value friendly. And I think a lot of people who are listening are looking for that type of travel style. And you've just been to a lot of cool places. So I feel like you have a lot of experience and expertise. So thank you for bringing that with you today. Before we dive into your actual trip in details, what made you choose to go to Thailand and Vietnam specifically?
So I actually, to be honest, never had any interest in going to Thailand or Vietnam, despite everyone saying that Thailand was great, like great beaches, great weather and all that. It was more, I had a friend of mine that was already going to go on a trip to Thailand. I just invited myself on the trip. And then he basically found a super cheap flight. So it went on sale. I think it was on yyzdeals.com. And it was like you had to book the flight within a couple hours or something. He basically booked two separate tickets. And you know how you have 24 hours to cancel if whatever you want to cancel it. Yeah, so he booked two tickets. He basically called me. I was at work, missed all the calls, came back to my phone and saw a text saying, I bought you a ticket. This is when it's for, and you basically have 24 hours to respond. And then I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I did it because it was like $1,000 round trip versus it's probably closer to like $2,300 to $2,500 normally, and just rolled with it.
Did you just decide in 24 hours to go on this trip?
I kind of decided to already go to Thailand with him before, but originally he wanted to go, this is my friend Rich, by the way, that I was traveling with. So originally he wanted to go in November for Lantern Festival. And so that was the plan. But then when this flight deal came up, it was like you had to go at a specific time, which was April. I already knew I was going to go to Thailand. It was just 6 months later from the time that I actually was originally going to go.
Also, you just dropped a great tip. I don't think people know you can cancel within 24 hours of booking a flight. Nick and I actually booked flights a few weeks ago that we had to cancel within 24 hours. So thank you for bringing that up.
So one thing I would say too is I never book on Expedia or a third-party site. Always go directly to the actual airline, because if you ever do need to cancel, it's like Expedia fighting with the airline. Basically, Expedia saying it's, the airline that you have to deal with and vice versa, and it's really hard to get your money back. So always use the 24 hours and always book directly on the actual flight site of like the airline that you're looking for.
I feel like you should have a podcast because you already have like more tips than me.
No, I have such flight anxiety. Like, I like things where I can do it and then I can back out of it. I don't like things where I feel like I'm locked in and trapped. So I always look at the flight stuff like to death.
It's funny because I have the same opinion. I like booking direct for certain things because having a third party is just annoying to deal with. But there are other things I like booking with a third party. I book almost all of my accommodations through like Expedia or booking.com because of free cancellation. And you literally could just like insta cancel and like change it. So anyways, good tip too. Second tip, book directly with the airline. Find it on Google Flights and then book it directly with the airline.
Exactly. Always search on Google Flights.
Did you have any reservations about going to Thailand or Vietnam before you went? Like, were you kind of like, I don't know if this is a place I want to go because of X, Y, or Z?
Honestly, zero. And originally when I was going into this trip, I was like, okay, Rich, I'm happy to have you plan it. I'm just going to show up. And then as we got closer, I just realized that's not my personality. I need to have a bit more control. So then I started looking things up and getting more excited for it.
When did you go exactly? What were your travel dates?
April 10th to 26th-ish, somewhere around there. So we
like
went
mid-April.
Yeah, mid-April. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's dry at that time. Bangkok is the hottest city in the world, and the hottest month to travel there is April. But at least you know that you'll be dry. So for me, I would rather just super hot and dry. But it was actually hell hot when we were there. So no reservation.
On the day budget travel scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is you're the absolute cheapest when it comes to accommodations, so you're eating street food, minimal to no paid activities, and then 10 is like absolute luxury, White Lotus, no budget, 4 seasons. Where would you rate yourself as a traveler?
I'd probably put myself as a 5. And the only reason I say that, because I know that might seem kind of high, because I'd like to
I am shocked that you said a 5.
Maybe a 4. I don't like to cheap out on the excursions. It's like if I'm going to a place, I want to try things that we can't try in Canada. And I also want to do the same with food. So it doesn't necessarily need to be high-end food. But in terms of like accommodation, public transit, knickknacks or drinks or things like that, no, I'm definitely budget on that sense. The excursions will bump me up to like a 4 or 5.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing about whatever you're doing as your activities. Tell us about your general trip itinerary before we break it down a bit more. So where did you go and how long did you stay in each place?
Okay, so first we flew into Bangkok. I don't know if people know where I'm from, but we flew into and out of Toronto. Okay, so we flew from Toronto to Hong Kong. So that was 15 hours, the 3-hour layover, and then it was another 3 hours to get to Bangkok. So it's a pretty long flight. And our plan was to do Thailand, then Vietnam, and then come back into Bangkok to fly back home. So that way our flight was in and out of the same place. And it's easy to fly between the two countries. So first we started in Bangkok, and the plan there was they're known for basically like their markets, their street food. Muay Thai is big there, so we want to see a Muay Thai fight. Lots of Buddhist temples, which was cool to see. So that was kind of the whole idea with Bangkok. It's just a major city. And then from there, we went did one of the islands because they've got great water, beach life, fire shows, full moon parties, that sort of thing. So we tried the beach. Then after that, we went to Chiang Mai, which is another major city. And the reason we were there was because they celebrated their New Year, which was super cool experience. And then from there, we went to the jungle, and that was also really cool. So that was to kind of look at like elephants are big there, right? So we wanted to see an elephant sanctuary. They do rafting tours. We did a cooking class, that sort of thing. Then we flew into Vietnam. Vietnam, the first day was in Hanoi, which is kind of like their Toronto, like major city. So Hanoi was like, trying food, just kind of being part of the culture, going to their markets, which were very different than Thailand. Then we went on a Kappa cruise, which was going around the islands on the water there. So that was like a 2-day thing. And then we went to see the rice fields in Sapa. So basically it's like, I don't know, different levels where they would flood these plains and grow rice, and someone would go by and, pick all the rice. And then back to Hanoi, and then back to Bangkok, which was then again, just anything we missed the first time in Bangkok, we just added that in the second time around.
Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
It was a lot. It was go. We don't mind cutting out sleep if it means making time to make other things fit and trying to fit it within a 2-week period.
Everyone's travel style is different. So if that's what fills your cup, that's cool. I like to have a little bit more relaxing time in my trips, but that's why we do this podcast. Had you been to Asia before this?
No, that was my first time.
Were there any like specific culture shocks or things that caught you off guard right away traveling there? never having been to Asia before?
Thailand, not too much. Thailand was actually a nice way to ease into Asia. People spoke English. I wouldn't say it was super common. Like if you're obviously going to do excursions or touristy places, people definitely spoke English. It was the only place I think I've been to where the religion is different. So being a Buddhist religion versus like Europe and South America are typically Catholic or Christian. So that was a bit different. I would say Vietnam was definitely the most culture shocking. Everyone there smoked, which was wild to me. It seemed like nobody drove cars. Everyone was on a motorcycle and there were no rules to that road. 4 lanes wide. There were literally 7 motorcycles going at the same time. It's constant horns all day, all night. It's like you're walking, someone's cutting you off. You have to stop. You're not sure if the next bike's going to go. Like it's just absolute chaos. So from the driving perspective, that was shocking. And then the markets were also shocking. Here, I feel like you go into Toronto, you go to Chinatown or something, and I don't know, there's like fruits, vegetables, it's outside. You're maybe getting like flies on fruit. This was
No.
they, if you have a weak stomach, you probably wouldn't want to stay right in a hostel that's right in the center of a market like we did. But literally, as soon as we walked into and out of our hostel, there was a market and there was a girl selling bread. Where the bread was, she had her leg was up on like the counter that had the bread and she's literally waxing her legs. And then you move like to the next vendor beside and there's like a bucket of frogs and he's taking one out, like chopping the head off with a machete and then throwing it back in the same bucket with the live frogs. And you see it like, still kind of alive before it eventually dies. Then, next booth over, there's like eels in a bucket. And so that was wild.
Oh my God.
For me, I was like, oh my God, these would never pass Canadian standards. You would never find that anywhere.
It's fair. I mean, that's why we travel, I guess, is to experience that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you started in Bangkok. Where did you stay?
We stayed at the Mad Monkey Hostel.
Where in Bangkok is that? Is it like downtown? Is everything
downtown?
Downtown?
Yeah, it's like they're downtown. So they have an area there. It's called Khao San.
Okay.
And there's the Khao San Market, and that's kind of a big thing. So it was right in that. It was like maybe a 2-minute walk from it.
Do you stay in hostels with co-ed rooms? Are you in like the 8-room dorm style hostel rooms? Are you in a private room?
Again, just to be cheap, we stayed in the dorm style. And because Rich and I, obviously guy and girl, we stayed in a co-ed room as well. But all the hostels that we stayed at had options for female only as well.
Okay. Do you feel like staying in a dorm is safe? Because my thing is, first of all, I feel like people would be staring at me all night. Second of all, do you feel like your stuff is like secure? I know there's lockers and safes, but you must have your phone on you and stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I always feel secure. So I've done hostels before, so to me it was nothing new. And I've stayed anywhere from 3 or 4 people in a room as a minimum to like 10. So ideally, yeah, private is of course better, but I wouldn't say anything seems unsafe in a regular room. Pretty much if you bring a carry-on, as long as you travel with a carry-on or a smaller size, you can pretty much always put the carry-on in like a locked cubby sort of area. And then it's always bunk bed style. And each bunk bed, typically most hostels will have like a curtain so you can block out any light from anybody else. And then they usually also have like a little cubby in there too beside your bed. So that's where I'll always keep my phone, my charger, my fanny pack, which usually just has like my passport and my money. If I wanted to, I could lock it up. Just, I don't know, for some reason I'm weird and want to sleep with it under my pillow. So I feel like I can feel if someone's going to steal it or something. I don't know. Yeah. And then you have like a little nightlight there as well. But no, I've never felt like someone's going to be like looking over me or anything weird.
Okay, I guess I never even realized there was like a curtain. I thought it was just open beds.
No,
maybe that's why.
No, I mean, maybe some, but I feel like that's not typical. Like in the last few years that I've traveled, I've stayed in quite a few hostels now, and none of them have had that. They've all had curtains.
Oh, that's interesting. How much did it cost for you to stay at a hostel, specifically the hostel in Bangkok?
I don't remember the exact amount for Bangkok. Hostels in general across Thailand and Vietnam were all very cheap, like 25 Canadian a night at most. And again,
Okay.
It depends. Like we were in 4 to 6 person rooms. Usually we tried for like a 4-person room if it was available. And that was probably 25 a night. So obviously if you stay in a private room, you're probably paying close to double that.
But like $50 a night still for a private room is very
Yeah.
good. You can't.
Yeah, they're good.
We stayed at the Best Western in Stratford, Ontario last summer in a normal room for 350 Canadian a night.
Yeah, that doesn't fit my budget. That would eat a whole day of budget out of there.
I had a friend who went to Thailand just before COVID, and she had booked a private room in a hostel. And she said that she actually had to stay somewhere else because it just was not clean enough for her. She's frugal like us too, so she's very reasonable, but she said it did not meet her cleanliness standards. So what was your
Really?
experience in general with the hostels in terms of their cleanliness?
Honestly, no issue with the cleanliness for any of them. I thought they were all good. I have had that experience before, but it was actually at an Airbnb, not a hostel. No, I found hostel
You
staff
hear
is
that,
good.
Airbnb people? They're not all that great.
Yeah, they're not all great. No, the hostels I've stayed at have all been super clean. The one thing I would say is I've only done laundry at a hostel twice, and once they stained my dress and another time they lost two separate pairs of socks. So I wouldn't do my laundry there, but I trust the cleanliness for sure.
Well, that's good information. What did you do when you were in Bangkok?
The first time that I was there was pretty much just to try the food. There was a lot of basically like street vendors, kind of in like a market style on the streets. There's like a very lively downtown that you have to pass through as well. So lots of clubs, lots of like drag shows, lady boys, ping pong shows. So we basically tried one of each of those. So we went to a couple different bars, had drinks, super cheap drinks there, by the way. One place I even think it was like if you had a glass of wine, they give you free fries. So that was pretty cool. But
That
yeah,
is definitely a Sam travel technique right there. Is free food.
yeah, free fruit, especially like fries are one of my favorites. So couldn't go wrong with that. But yeah, basically during the day, we walked around, we looked at different temples. Some were obviously a lot more grand than others. You don't have to get tickets to any of them. You don't have to wait in line. You literally just walk in. You could pray if you want, walk out. So that was easy. We walked the market, so we tried different food. So I had like deep fried scorpion on a stick, crocodile. We had pad thai, almost like a dim sum type of thing. Just basically anything that I thought that you wouldn't be able to get back home or would be different back home. I wanted to try there.
Any other highlights or activities you did in Bangkok?
So we went to go see the floating market, which is basically like you go on a, call it like a big canoe for lack of a better word. So it probably fits like 8 people. You have a Thai person steering it. And then you can get like food, you can get ice cream, you can buy like hats, clothing, etc., all while like floating down this river. So some of them are vendors in other canoe boat type things going by you, and some are like kind of stationary on the sides in houses. That was cool. And then we went to go see this rail market. So there's an actual train that runs right through the middle of it. And everything is really built right on the tracks. So when you're walking between vendors, you're walking on the tracks. So when you see the train, it's like people will literally take like the awnings kind of down off of their business, and you're standing back. The train goes like super slow through it, and then once it passes, they put their awnings back out, and then again you can continue to shop. So that was pretty cool. And then lastly, we went to go see a Muay Thai show, or a Muay Thai fight. I guess it's not really a show, but yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's cool. Where do you pick up the canoe guy for the market? Is there a place you have to go, and do you have to pay them or tip them?
You definitely have to pay. I don't think you tip them. I think you just like pay the fee, which for some reason I'm remembering it being like $12 Canadian or something like that. But you don't actually pay we'll call them the driver of the boat. Like a big general platform, everyone's waiting on there, and then they take you down like, 8 people at a time per boat. But yeah, it's very obvious.
Do they stop then when like people want to stop?
Kind of. Like honestly, you're not moving that fast.
You have enough time to like exchange money for goods on the left and then exchange money for goods on the right.
I think there's like a little motor maybe on the back of the boat, but I guess maybe they just turn it off. Like you don't get on and off the boat, and it does not go fast. And there's also so much boat traffic of all the other tourists on these boats that yeah, you have enough time. And plus there's a lot of like repeat too. So it might be like a hat, and then you're gonna have like 6 other spots where you can also buy the exact same hat. So it doesn't really matter. And it's more so like tacky souvenirs stuff too. Like the ice cream was cool, and you can get beer as well. So that stuff was great. But unless you really want like the tacky souvenir stuff, it's kind of more for the experience rather than actually buying something.
Honestly, it sounds like a super cool experience. I feel like the reason I would want to go to Thailand is for that experience. Like going through the canoe market, we'll call it the water market, and the rail market still sounds cool. I don't know about the ping pong bar. That maybe isn't my thing.
Honestly, one-time experience at most, but if you don't do it, it's not going to make and break your experience at all.
Do you have any food or restaurant recommendations?
Bangkok, I don't even know if we honestly ate at a restaurant, and I would probably recommend to just not eat at a restaurant. There's so many markets with food, and there's just so many different vendors to try, and they're all small portions. So you can get like seafood on a skewer, and it's like $2 Canadian. Then you go to the next place and you're trying like a pad thai also for $2 Canadian. You can get their smoothies, which are fantastic throughout the country, and it's like $2 Canadian. So no, I wouldn't eat at any restaurant. I would just go to the markets and pick little bits of food here and there. And then actually one more thing, at the end of the night, you can get a massage, because they have massages all day for an hour. An hour for a Thai massage is $12 Canadian, a half hour is $6. Or they also have foot massages, and you're really just like laying out in beds on the street. Not even beds. It's almost like you're on like a lounge chair that you'd get at like the beach or by the poolside, but just the cushion part of it. And you're just lying there, and there's probably like 6 or 7 of you, and one person on each, and you're just in the street getting a massage.
Where did you go after Bangkok?
So after Bangkok, we went to Krabi. So Krabi is like a beach town. It's kind of like Phuket, if you've ever heard of that. So that's another popular one. From there, we went to a place called Raleigh Beach, and we spent the day there. We saw like a fire show at this restaurant. This is actually a good restaurant. Reeve Beach Club is what it's called. And yeah, they do an outrageous fire show. It's like 30 minutes long and just super dangerous looking, but really cool.
How are you getting around in Krabi? Were your accommodations close to Reeve Beach Bar?
Everything is super close there. It's literally like being in like Sega Beach. Like everything's within walking distance. At one point, I think we took a cab because we were late for something, but it was like literally like 5 minutes. Like it was pretty short. But you can walk to everything if you wanted to. They also have tuk-tuks everywhere. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like a small 2-seater car, 2 people in the front, like 2 people in the back, open on the sides, and it has like 3 wheels. I don't know. It's kind of like I'm going to call it a Thai golf cart. It moves faster than that, but that's kind of the general idea of what it's like.
Okay.
So those are everywhere. So if you need like a taxi, that's typically what you're going to take.
And I'm assuming the tuk-tuks are pretty cheap.
Oh, yeah, they're cheap. Transportation there in general is cheap. Tuk-tuks, you're usually paying $4 or $5 to get wherever you need to go. Or they have an app called Grab, which is like our Uber. And the app is set up exactly like Uber. It looks almost exactly the same. But even like, let's say I think when we went from like our airport in Bangkok to the main city of Bangkok, it was like maybe a half hour, 45-minute drive. And it was like $16. Yeah.
Generally, it sounds like the rule of thumb in Thailand is everything's cheap.
Everything's
Is there
cheap.
anything expensive?
The flight. That's it.
Just get to Thailand and the rest of it is going to be very affordable.
Once you're there, food's cheap, accommodations are cheap. There's not many excursions in Bangkok again because it's like being in Toronto, but even seeing like the Muay Thai fight was cheap. Nothing's expensive.
Was there any accommodations you stayed in you wouldn't recommend?
The only one I wouldn't recommend is the one that we stayed at in Krabi. And I wouldn't say it was a bad accommodation. I was way too old for that place by like a decade. The place we stayed at, it was called Nomads Hostel. So where I stayed, it was like a 4-person room, which is kind of cool because it was just myself, Rich, and then one other guy. Except I didn't know until we got there, the bathroom was not part of our room. So it was like down a hallway. And then when you open the door, you're not even in the hostel anymore. It's literally outside. And so you have like a couple patio stones that you step on when you're showering. And then other than that, it's just like crushed gravel kind of around you. Yeah, that one might have been cool when I was 20, but that was definitely not cool when I was 32.
Anything else you'd recommend?
No, Krabi, you're really just going for the beach, to be honest. So if you're not a beach bum, not really a place that you need to see. However, if you do go there, that fire show at Reeve Beach Club was really cool. And we went to another one in our next place, which is on Koh Phi Phi, but nothing compares to that Reeve Beach House one.
Okay, so you were in Krabi and then you went to Koh Phi Phi.
Well, Koh Phi Phi is an island, and this was our one bougie stay. So we actually stayed at a hotel there. It's called the Beach Resort, so easy one to remember. It was just nice to have like a one nice kind of fancy night. And again, nothing was that expensive. So I think this one was like maybe 120 Canadian for the night.
For you and Rich that you both shared?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We shared this room, and I'm sure they thought we were on their honeymoon because we literally had towels folded into swans on the bed and
just friends.
Whatever. It gets us free stuff. There's another travel tip for you.
Pretend you're getting engaged every single place you travel, or like you just got married.
Exactly. You're always newlyweds on an anniversary, celebrating a birthday. It's got to be something big.
So in Koh Phi Phi, you had the nice luxury accommodation. Also beaches. What do you do there?
We went out on a longboat tour, which you've probably seen before, but it's almost like a boat that looks like a banana, and the front has like colorful flowers hanging from it. Then there's like a motor on the back, and then the guy that drives the boat, or whatever it's called, steers the boat, will be controlling that motor on the back. So that was pretty cool. So you go on this longboat, and then you stop in different grottos, and you can snorkel when you're in there. The water is like bath water, like warmest water I've ever been in. There's no adjustment period of being like, oh, got to stick a toe in and then feel it out. Just nice and warm. We went to an island. It was called Monkey Island, and there's literally monkeys all over this island. Like it's not like you have to time it and you're wondering, oh, am I going to catch one? Am I not? They're all over the place. So that was pretty cool. And honestly, the best part, as much as it was such a fun day, the best part of this was when you have to go back to the island. It was probably like a 45-minute to an hour ride back on this longboat taxi. And the tide changes drastically between like daytime temperatures and nighttime temperatures. And at the night, you literally can't see anything. There's like one light coming off the boat. And our boat was probably tipping no word of a lie, like 45 degrees on either side. Rich and I were sitting at the front with this one kid who couldn't have been more than like 8 years old. His dad's like holding him in. There's a lady who's probably in her 30s or 40s, like bawling her eyes out. Her husband's trying to console her because it literally felt like you're going to tip over. If you're not good with water, just keep that in mind. You probably want to go on like a really early daytime one. So by the time you get back,
So you can see if you flip.
Yeah, exactly. But super cool. It was actually so much fun. I love that.
That is super cool. Do you, a lot of these things, do you like plan them in advance or just show up?
That we somewhat planned it. Like we knew we wanted to do that when we were there, but we didn't actually book it until we showed up.
Okay. When you're in Krabi or Koh Phi Phi, do you have to pay at beaches for chairs?
So I don't think so. And there's not really chairs. You just bring your own towel and you just sit there, or the beach club will give you towels that you can sit on. But yeah, it's not like when you go to Europe or something and there's like, you see chairs with an umbrella and you think, oh, I hit the jackpot, and then somebody chases you down for like 40 euros. You're staying at a hotel, and therefore that section of your hotel is where you're going to sit on the beach.
Okay. Did you go to the jungle next?
Yeah. Okay.
So
this was the absolute best part.
where was this jungle that you went to?
Okay. I think it was roughly 3 hours away from Koh Phi Phi. We took a private shuttle to get there. And I think it was around $50 each. Again, still not too expensive.
How did you find the jungle? Like, how did you decide to go here?
I don't know. I think because Rich wanted to go to an elephant sanctuary and see elephants for sure. This is like one of the places that was recommended, because you hear things about some places where you ride elephants and therefore it's not really humane. This was like an actual sanctuary where they take elephants and like rehab them and help them live in the wild. So that was kind of the reason why we went there.
Does this place have a name other than the jungle?
So the area is called Khao San.
So what did you do in Khao San?
Okay, so we stayed at this place. It was called our jungle house, and it's basically stay in a tree house. And there's multiple tree houses all on the property. And then from there, they'll organize excursions that you can go out to. So a driver will come pick you up, and then you'll go out to each. We did a few things. So we did the elephant sanctuary, we did a bamboo raft tour, and then we did a cooking class that was outside.
Let's talk about each of those things specifically.
Okay, so in order of how we did it, the first thing we did, which was also probably the best, well, no, easily the best, was the cooking class. Rich and I kind of picked different things that we wanted to do and then did them together. So the cooking class was one of them. And we were both under the impression we were going to be like in maybe like a hut or something. It was going to be outdoor, but you're in like a designated cooking space. The guide comes to pick us up and he didn't really speak English. So he was like, okay, elephant crossing. We have to take a different route. So we're like, okay. So we go in his pickup truck. We're driving. We literally pull over side of the road and he goes into like a convenience store and comes back out with his little backpack. And then he's like, okay, here we have to walk. So we're like, okay, this is us walking specifically through the jungle because we have to go, different route for the elephant crossing. So that's what's on our mind. In the meantime, he like whips out this machete. And as we're walking through the jungle, he keeps like cutting down things, like cutting down bamboo. And so we're first just thinking he's just clearing a path. Then all of a sudden he's like, okay, so this is where we eat. And we're like, here. We're just literally in the middle of nothing, in the middle of trees. There's like a little stream and then there's like a plot of dirt. And he's like, we cook. And we're like, oh my God, okay. So our cell phones don't work. No idea where we are. We've been walking for like 20 minutes, not on a path. So I start filming as if I'm on Survivor, thinking we are going to die and these are going to be our last words ever recorded.
Oh my God.
And it's like maybe 7 p.m. and it's getting not dark, but you could tell it's going to be dark within the hour. So in the meantime, our dinner that we were making was green Thai chicken curry. So he cut bamboo. We had maybe 4 or 5 of those. And then he had different packets that were in that backpack. So one of them was rice, one was chicken, one was ingredients to make a cake, and then one was mixed vegetables. So it first started off, he's like, okay, we're going to put all these things basically in each different bamboo shoot. So one of them, we had to put the chicken. One of them, he took leaves off a tree, literally rolled up the rice in it, and then like tied it with like a piece of grass and then stuffed it down this bamboo shoot. Then with me to put the chicken in this bamboo shoot, I was like, okay, thanks. So how do I clean my hands now? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like,
we don't wash raw chicken off our hands in Thailand.
Yeah, raw chicken. Like, do you have sanitizer? And he was like, kind of like looked at me weird and then pointed to the stream that was maybe like an inch off the dirt to wash my hands. And I was like, oh my God, honestly, these people have no sense of infection control, but what am I supposed to do about it? So yeah, that was an experience. So my hands were quote unquote clean at that point. And then Rich was making like, I think the mixed vegetables that were going in another bamboo shoot. Then he took sticks and basically made it a little stand. So it was like two vertical sticks with a horizontal one going across it. And then he rested all the bamboo shoots on that. So they were leaning on like a 45-degree angle and lit a small fire underneath with a candle and a match. And then created a fire there. And then basically you can just see the ingredients boiling inside the bamboo shoots. He would take like another thick piece of grass almost to make like tongs, and then he would just turn all the shoots that the way they boiled evenly. It was really cool, especially if you looked at the one that was like the cake. You can actually see the cake go from what ingredients to like rising and filling up like an actual cake. So in the end, he's like, okay, we're ready. We cut some big leaves and we basically put them down on the ground, and then he poured the contents out into each leaf. And then with the one with the cake, he basically ripped off like half the bamboo and then just sliced it with a knife. And so we had little slices of cake. So it was actually super cool. And at that point, it was like pitch black. So you really just have the lights of like the fire and your cameras. So it's a really cool experience. Super authentic.
Sorry, what was the name of the cooking class again?
Literally just said Thai cooking class.
Did you book the cooking class through the hotel?
Yeah, we did.
I think there's no more authentic way of cooking food than in the jungle with bamboo branches.
I loved
and
it
raw
too
chicken.
because we were literally under the impression we were going to like an actual cooking class, not like just the two of us in the woods. So the fact that it was unknown is what made it extra special.
I can't remember, what were the other two activities you did again?
I don't know the name because it was organized by our jungle house. But you go to a sanctuary, you meet the elephants, which also news to me at how old elephants get. So we had one, they called her grandma, and she was, I think, 73 in like people
Oh my gosh,
years.
they're human age.
Yeah. Yeah. So first you take bananas and oats and you kind of mash it all up and you make these little like protein balls. So you roll them into basically like power balls yourself. And then you feed them to the elephants. So you can either put it in their trunk and then they'll like pick it up with their trunk and put it in their mouth. Or you could put it just directly in their mouth. So you feed them. Then after you feed them, then you go to bathe them. So one thing I learned was that elephants have a hard time cooling themselves off and they have really thick skin. So it's hard for them to sweat or like basically let the energy out through their skin. So they actually only sweat through their eyes and through their toenails, which I thought was pretty cool. Anyways, you get to the next spot, which is the elephants are basically standing in this water. Our elephant took the biggest pee I've ever seen as soon as he got into the water. And then the lady's like, okay, so get in. We're going to start
My God.
mud on them. And I'm like, oh my God, this elephant just dropped like 5 gallons of pee in here. Part of the experience. So you get in the water and then you basically have like these clay dishes of mud and you like rub your elephant with mud because it helps exfoliate them and it helps cool them down. Then you come out of there and you go through like an elephant car wash. You basically go through this area that has like sprinklers almost coming down to hit the elephant. And then you take like a giant deck cleaning brush and then basically scrub your elephant. Then you take your elephant to the next area in another body of water and then you like re-exfoliate it. Yeah, and then you're done.
How much does it cost to do the elephant sanctuary?
For sure, it was less than $100 and you're probably there for like 2 hours.
And then there's that third excursion you did.
The third one we did was a bamboo raft tour. Yeah, it's basically little bamboo shoots connected together in a raft. And then a couple of them have motors, but most of them just has one guy that's paddling. And yeah, you just go around the river and then you stop at a place, you have some tea. Wild to me how much these people also have tea when it's 45 degrees outside. But I was under the impression it was like an iced tea. It's actually a hot tea when it's 45. Definitely a little more touristy, but you still get to go through the jungle and like the small rivers, and then you can stop and swim if you want. And there's like locals there swimming, and there was locals having a picnic. So it kind of felt authentic as well.
We talked a little bit about how April's the hottest month in Thailand. We never talked about if Thailand has accessible air conditioning. No. So did your hostels have air conditioning, or did different stores or restaurants have air conditioning?
So our hostels did have air conditioning in the rooms, but if you're in the common spaces, they did not. And a lot of the restaurants do not have air conditioning. And Vietnam was very much the same way. Because of that, you're always kind of outside. So no, they maybe have like a fan, but you're definitely not getting cooled down from it. Don't wear anything nice because you'll sweat through it. Like I had to change my clothes a couple times a day. You'd shower, you're immediately sweaty. I only wore gym clothes. I don't think I even wore my hair down. And that wasn't just me. That was just people in general, because the daytime temperature is mid 40s and the overnight temperature is 36. So there's like no reprieve from the heat. The last place we did was Chiang Mai. Really, the reason for us going to this place was because of Songkran, which is the Thai New Year. So we went to celebrate that, which it's like a huge water gun fight. And most major cities will participate in it, but I would say like Bangkok and Chiang Mai are probably the bigger ones. Starts pretty much at like 11 a.m. There's kind of no written rules. And there's a bunch of vendors outside that are all selling water guns. So you basically buy a water gun, you buy like a lanyard for your phone, like one of those waterproof ones. And that's it. You basically just start soaking random people and no one's off limits. So you could be walking on the street and someone will look like they're going to work and you can soak them. You're like shooting people in restaurants because again, the restaurants don't have doors or walls. It's kind of just like a roof with 4 pillars and then it's open. So you can be shooting people in restaurants. You can be walking and like some vendor is like shooting you. It's really cool. However, make sure you're careful with what is on you. During the day, we were out for like 4 hours. Rich didn't realize his plastic lanyard thing that held his cell phone had got water in it. So his phone was sitting in 2 inches of water and literally broke. And we had flights on that he didn't send me beforehand. We had accommodations on that. And even worse was he had a Pixel at the time, and we didn't know that you didn't really have Pixels there. Pixels are very North American, so no one could fix his phone. So he literally had to buy a whole new phone, and then it was like locked out of his Gmail. It was like a whole big deal, and that was the only stressful part of the trip was what the heck do we do with getting our things back? How do we get our bus tickets and that sort of thing? So careful with that. Also, nobody cares when you say, don't shoot, I have my passport on me. Even if you're holding it, even if you're trying to show them, like, it's a passport, they don't care.
Don't shoot the passport.
Yeah, they'll take their bucket and they'll toss it at you. Really fun, but if you don't want to get wet, you literally can't leave your house.
Have you seen The White Lotus, and have you seen the scene where the 3 women get stuck in the water gun fight? So the 3 women go out of the resort and they get stuck in the middle of the street and everyone's spraying water and they're like freaking out because they're getting soaked and no one will stop spraying them. It sounds like your experience was very similar to that, where they could not escape the water.
Yeah, you can't escape it. There was like people on motorcycles getting soaked. People are like throwing buckets into taxis if they have their windows down. They're throwing into businesses and like nobody's unhappy about it. Everyone's fine. Like this is just the way it is. Everyone's loving it.
Any recommendations for Chiang Mai otherwise?
So I think it's called Six, like SIXT. That was the name of the show. That was a really cool drag queen show. So you pay, like there's no fee to go in. It's just, you have to buy 2 drinks. And the drinks are like hugely overpriced. So it's like $6 Canadian for a drink, which for Thailand is overpriced. For here, obviously, it's still cheap. So it was like 2 drinks. Each one was $6. So you had to pay $12 for the show. This place was heavily air conditioned. And I only remember that because I was soaking wet and I actually froze to death. It was the only time I was cold.
The one time she was cold in Thailand.
And it was like, not to be picky, but now I'm too cold. But the show was really cool. So the drag queens are like professional. They do hound you for tips. So you have to really just not make eye contact and pretend you're looking at your phone if you don't want to pay.
I know you don't.
Yeah, which I did not. So
Did you have any good food in Chiang Mai, or did you just do street food again like Bangkok?
no, Chiang Mai did have good food. I had really spicy soup. It only comes in like level 12 out of 10 spice, at least for me. Called like Khao Soy or something like that. Other than that, no, there were more outdoor markets. So again, had a lot of smoothies as I did everywhere there. Lots of pad thai, lots of dim sum, and lots of things on a stick.
Did you have any specific foods that you really enjoyed in Thailand?
Going back to the smoothies, because they have like soursop and things that we don't have in Canada, so those are really good. Mango sticky rice. Oh my God, game changer. It's sticky rice, but they do it with sweet condensed milk and then mango, and then they top it off with like Rice Krispie type flakes on top. It's a dessert. Excellent. Another one I had was taro. So it's like a purple potato, like chunks of it, almost in the same sort of condensed milk sauce. Really good.
Anything else from Thailand that you want to mention that you haven't already?
That was it. Honestly, I would say as one tip. So again, I tend to always overbook myself. So I didn't get in as many massages as I'd like. But take advantage of the massages for sure. Like $12 for an hour is super cheap. The only thing I'd say is you can't go there with an actual injury and expect them to fix it because none of them speak English. And also none of them care. So when I'm getting this massage, they literally start off, they're sitting on like your butt and you're face down and they're massaging you. Then all of a sudden they take like both your arms behind your back and like pull you up. And again, they're not asking like, what's your previous health history? And any mobility issues that we could be concerned about? Like none. Then at one point they like sit you up and I'm sitting cross-legged and this woman like straddles me but puts both of her legs over my legs and then puts my hands like this, like behind my head, like you're getting arrested, and her hands go in between my arms and she literally just circled me, cracked my entire spine, circled me the other way, and then like threw me back over her.
Oh my
And
God.
by the end, you're like, all right, that was wild. It was not what you're expecting from like your classic Canadian type of massage, but yeah, really cool to see how they do it there.
So these are actual Thai massages.
That's a Thai massage. So they do have like a traditional massage, we'll call it. Then they'll say like
Hmm.
Thai massage specifically, which is that. And then they have foot massage. Those are the three big ones.
Okay, massage people needs to go to Thailand, I guess.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So after Chiang Mai, you guys flew to Vietnam. You went to Hanoi. Where did you stay in Hanoi?
So Hanoi, we stayed at the Hanoi Central Backpackers Hostel, which is right in the
Hmm.
middle of one of those markets where they're like, still killing the animal as you're walking through it.
If you're a vegan, do not stay at this hostel.
Honestly, I eat a ton of meat and that was still kind of traumatizing.
Okay, so be really weary if you book
When I
this
posted a
hostel.
story to my Instagram, I had to make sure I put a disclaimer slide before I started the actual story of me filming that market.
What did you do when you were in Hanoi?
Hanoi, again, major city. So we're kind of just walking around for the culture. We walked downtown, we ate downtown. We were trying pho or pho. I'm still too Canadianized to actually call it pho. But
Hmm.
we tried that. We tried like a Michelin star duck place. I think it was $32 Canadian for duck. So pretty good, not bad.
Okay.
And we literally just walked around, and honestly, we probably spent half of that first day looking for a new phone for Rich because we had our bus tickets and our flight tickets on it. So
Hmm.
we lost a bit of time on that one.
Did you do any excursions at all when you were in Hanoi?
And Hanoi, no, no. It's really
Okay.
just like a city. I guess our one excursion was they had like a water puppet show, which is, I think, exclusive to Vietnam. So we went there and saw that, which was cool. It's also all in Vietnamese though. So you're really going there just because it's something culturally different, but it's hard to pick up the storyline.
So what did you do after being in Hanoi?
After Hanoi, we went to Kappa and we did a 2-day cruise. So people might have heard of Halong Bay. So there's kind of like the way the guy described it is there's like Halong Bay and then like a water border, I guess. And so anything above a certain area is Halong Bay and anything below a certain area is Kappa. It was really cool. You're on there with like I don't know, maybe 20 of us in total. And you have like your meals together. You get to talk to everybody. You sleep on a boat, which is cool. I've personally never slept on a boat. Yeah, we did a bit of kayaking.
Okay, so you get on the cruise, and for 2 days, you're out in the water doing different water activities,
Yeah,
eating. There's
yeah,
entertainment on the cruise. Are
yeah.
these things expensive to do?
I think this was probably close to $200 a person, but it is 2 days and you have your food and your accommodation with that.
Hmm.
And then obviously kind of like your excursions as well when you're kayaking. But that one was probably close to $200.
What's the company you book with, and how do you book something like that?
There's a bunch of different companies that I have to look up. I'd have to look up the company that I went to. I can't remember.
We can put it in the show notes. It's fine.
Okay.
But it's offered by multiple people. Like it's not just
Yeah.
one company that does it. Like this is a common excursion people do.
Yeah, it's very common. I think the one we went with was called Katba Ventures. It's like the most common thing you'd probably do in Katba or Halong Bay.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Was the food good? Was it clean?
Yeah, the boat was really clean. The food was good too. So it was like family style portions. So you sit in these booths that probably sit maybe 6 of you, or like at least the first day, that's how it was. Yeah, a bunch of different family style things came out. So we had like prawn chips and like jumbo shrimp, maybe like a spring roll type of thing, then like a plate of like vegetables. So it was all that.
What was the general travel cohort age range, both on the cruise but also in Vietnam in general?
I would say the average age range on the cruise at least was honestly probably 25 to 35. Like we were very much
Okay,
like
so this is
same
younger
age.
people.
Yeah, younger people for sure. I would say the average traveler in Vietnam was probably a bit older than Thailand. Like Thailand was definitely a lot of people in their like early 20s looking to party. Vietnam was a little bit older. In our hostels there, we had people that were like in their 30s and 40s, but you also had people that were in their early 20s as well.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
After your cruise, you went to the rice fields.
Yeah. So the rice fields were like 9 hours away. So we actually took an overnight bus to get there, which that in itself was a cool experience. So they have like two types of
Hmm.
buses that you can book, and one's a VIP bus and one's, I'm going to call it the peasant bus.
Did you take
And
the peasant bus?
So yes, but it wasn't the first one. So we took the VIP bus on the way there and the peasant bus on the way back. However, I don't
Hmm.
think we actually knew that we booked the VIP bus. And when we got there, I literally thought it was the peasant bus. So there was nothing VIP and special about it. So you basically walk onto this bus, picture like a big Greyhound bus, but when you walk in, there's like two aisles, I guess, but there's beds on the left, then an aisle, beds in the center aisle, and then beds on the right. And it's like 2 stories high. It's kind of like bunk beds, but like super, super skinny. And then each one has curtains. So you can block yourself out from other people. Looks super unbelievably sketchy. And it was probably
Yeah.
the best. It was probably honestly the best sleep I had on the whole trip.
Really?
Yeah, it was super comfortable. You're like reclined, you get a blanket, you get a pillow. Again, you have curtains so you can block out anyone else. And then I think just like the motion of being on the bus, it was pretty relaxing itself. And then plus, if you want,
Okay.
you can put in like earplugs or headphones or whatever you have, so you can't hear anyone else snoring. So just general 10 out of 10 sleep on there.
How is that different than the peasant bus on the way back?
Okay, so the peasant bus on the way back had no curtains separating you from the other people, and it was just all open. So that was the weird part. Like you can just see each other. And then the
Hmm.
VIP bus had TVs in front of you, but I don't know if any of them worked. Mine definitely didn't work. I don't think Rich's worked either. So I think it was more like for show.
So
Comfort
literally
level
the
was the same.
difference. Yeah, so the comfort was the same. It's the same setup. It's just like you get a curtain and maybe a TV.
Yeah, maybe a TV if it works. That's it.
Okay. So the rice fields, where are the rice fields located in Vietnam?
So the region that we went to is called Sapa. I think that's the biggest region there for the rice fields. But yeah, we stayed in a homestay. It was called Hoa's Homestay. Hoa's like the actual person, so you'll meet Hoa when you're there. Super nice, very like hospitable, and that was cool. So we had private rooms on that one. So I had my own room. Rich had his own room. Pretty much everyone had their own rooms. I don't know if there was one where you can stay multiple people in a room, maybe. But when you eat all together again, family style. So there's like a few tables, and you just sit wherever. And you just start talking to random people when you're there. And Hoa comes out, meets everyone. There was a couple dogs that stayed there, so that was pretty cute.
How much was it to stay at Hoa's homestay?
Again, less than $50 a night.
Less than 50 bucks a night. Okay, that's pretty good.
Keep in mind, so with that one, it's kind of like a running tab. So like you pay your accommodation, but then you still have to also pay for the meal. The meal was maybe like $10 to $12. And then if you get any drinks, like the drinks are extra, but you also choose your own meal as well. So it can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it to be. It's not like the food is included in it. A meal is included. If you want drinks and stuff, it'll change the price of your meal.
Where did you find this accommodation specifically?
I think this one was from Reddit. Like, I think just looking up recommendations for where to stay, people had said in general, homestays are the way to go. And then
Hmm.
I can't remember if this one was on Hostelworld or bookings.com, but it was one of those two.
Do you use Reddit a lot as a resource for booking or finding travel?
That was my first time. So I never had. Rich is really big on it. And that was probably one thing I learned from him from that trip. And then I've done a few trips since Thailand, and then every one I've always used Reddit for.
Yeah, we only just recently started using Reddit, but it's crazy how you can get recommendations you never would have even considered if you hadn't have gone to Reddit. That's a cool resource. Did you actually get to go into the rice fields? Like, was there like a rice field tour?
Yeah, so it was basically a big hike. And so we were hiking for I think like 4 hours, and then you get a meal in between. So you're hiking on the rice fields, except it wasn't rice picking season. So it really just looked like almost like, I don't know, watered mud patches. There was a
Hmm.
little bit of rice, but it wasn't prime season yet.
Is it pretty? Like, it looks, I can
Yeah,
picture what the rice fields look like, and it does look very beautiful and almost like geometric.
it is very geometric. It's almost like you have like a flat plane and then it drops down a couple of feet and then another plane and then drops down. So you kind of have that going for like a really long distance. And there's like animals up there. Like there was like, I'm gonna call them yaks. They might not have been yaks, but they looked like yaks. Yeah, and a couple dogs. It's just,
Hmm.
yeah, it was really pretty to see.
In Vietnam or Thailand, do they have dogs everywhere or cats everywhere like they have in the rest of the world?
Cats, yeah, I saw quite a few cats. Dogs, not as much. I guess I've been to other places that I've seen more stray dogs, so I wouldn't say it was like huge there, but we
Hmm.
saw a few.
After you were doing the rice fields, what did you guys do after the rice fields?
Well, you know what? I had this backwards. I did Ninh Binh after Katba, and then we went to Sapa from Ninh Binh and did the rice fields.
These names are hard to follow though sometimes. Ninh Binh?
Yeah, Ninh Binh. Yeah,
Okay.
try looking anything up in Vietnam on a map. They literally are all versions of Ninh Binh, Binh Sum. Like they all look exactly the same.
What did you guys do in Ninh Binh, and what is Ninh Binh? Is that like a town? Is it like a beach area?
So it's just the name of a city. So Ninh
Okay.
Binh, we went on this Chiang and riverboat tour. So again, it's like a boat, and then you have a lady kind of steering you. So we went with three of us there. So I think you can fit like two in the front, two in the middle, and then the ladies in the back steering. And yeah, you just go down this river, and then you can see some of the temples on the water. So you can like park your boat, get out, go into the temple, get back on the boat, go through little caves as well, which are really cool. They're like some parts are lit up, some parts are dark.
Hmm.
And you just go through that. So that was a pretty cool excursion. And then after that, we did a motorbike tour. So you can rent your own motorbike. You don't have to be on a bike with a guide. As people who don't ride motorcycles, we went on the back, so we each had a guide and we went together. So it's cool, like a good way to see the countryside. Again, most people in Vietnam ride motorbikes compared to cars. So now you feel like you're more part of the experience, but you're on like dirt roads and it's just nice seeing the scenery. Like it's all like green and lush when you're there, and you'll see random temples or random like vendors on the side of the road. You'll go through little towns, I guess, on the bike. And then I think the last thing we did there was we hiked the Muay cave. Deadly hike. That place felt super humid. I remember that when we were there. And we were hiking up it honestly probably took like maybe 45 minutes. Like it wasn't that long, but you're walking up like steps. So it just feels like you're getting a huge glute workout in. And then by the time you get to the top, you're just absolutely drenched. But you get such a nice view of, I think they were lily pad fields. They weren't rice fields. Maybe they were lily pad fields. But yeah, cool view from the top.
How often do you enjoy incorporating hikes and stuff like that into travel? Because that sounds like it's actually a workout versus
Yeah.
just like an occasional stroll, you know?
Yeah. For me, I love it. Like the physio in me obviously enjoys physical activity, but I think one of the
Hmm.
big things when I travel anywhere is I like to always try the food of the place that I'm going to, the whole one in Rome idea. So because of that, because I'm constantly trying to eat to try all these different things, it's like I feel like I need to burn some calories while I'm there. Otherwise, I just hate myself by the time I get back. I'm also just
Hmm.
a very up early, go, go, go type of person. So waking up and like doing a hike is like right up my alley.
Is there any specific types of street food that you enjoyed in Vietnam?
I know I tried goat for the first time when I was there. The goat was really
Hmm.
good. Nothing else stands out in mind. I think the street food was very much a Thailand thing. Most of the food I had in Vietnam was like we were trying pho or pho. We went to a place where Obama ate, and it was almost like these like pork pieces in soup. It was very like heavily soup based. A lot of the things that we ate, so it wasn't like on the go. I will say the one
Soup in a
weird
hot
thing.
country.
I know. And I would say the weird thing about Vietnam that I haven't experienced anywhere else is like pretty much you had a lot of places where you get family style portions in the middle of the table and you have this tiny little bowl, like a bowl that I would use at home to put condiments in, like a small bowl. And so the whole idea is you're supposed to fill that bowl with like rice or your noodle and then whatever other meat from some of those family style portions, and then you put that all on top and you eat in this really tiny bowl. So for me that was weird. I like to have my food like separated on a big plate where I can see it. I don't want to have to eat everything on top of each other, but
Hmm.
you do it when you're there.
When in Rome.
One in Rome, exactly.
You stayed at a hostel in Ninh Binh?
Ninh Binh was the eco lodge that we stayed at. So it looked like you had like ours looked like a truck that was like converted. So it was like an old truck and then you walk up, but obviously like they built a structure on top of the truck, which was our actual accommodation. So it's almost kind of like a tree house, but instead of being a tree as the base, it was like an old truck was the base.
That's cool.
It was cool. And there was like a bunch of them all in a row. Then
So one truck was like one accommodation space.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So they
That's
had
super
a
cool.
few different styles, and then they also had ones that were like, a regular house on the ground. So it was kind of like a
Hmm.
hotel room, but just like in its own little structure, and they had a bunch of those. But yeah, there was not like one central location to stay. There was just one central location to eat.
Do you have a specific accommodation in either Thailand or Vietnam that you would say was your favorite and you would recommend to anyone?
I really liked where we stayed in Khao Sok. That was the one that was in the jungle. Our jungle house. That was a cool one where we stayed in the tree house.
Ninh Binh isn't up there? The converted truck sounds cool.
That would be up there too. Both of them because they were very similar. One was a tree house and one is like you're on the top of a truck, but the house part that you're in is very similar between the two. So yeah, either of those I would say were really cool.
So we've talked about Hanoi, Ninh Binh, Kappa, and your cruise.
Yep.
Was there anything else you did in Vietnam?
No, we just went back to Hanoi after that because then we had to fly from Hanoi back to Bangkok. So when we were there, all we did is we basically tried other foods. So we had penis and testicle pho. So that was different.
Penis
And
of what?
that
Where was this penis sourced? What animal?
I didn't ask questions.
Oh my God.
It didn't matter. Like, it's either like, will you eat a penis or will you not eat a penis? It wasn't like, ooh, I'll only eat a penis depending on the animal source. It ranked low on my list of questions when I was there. I was just like, oh, okay, I'm committed. I'll take whatever penis this is. We also tried doing some shopping actually the second time around, not the first time when we were in Hanoi. A big thing there is knockoffs. So there was a lot of places being like, oh, Nike, Nike. And it's like clearly not Nike for like $4. But you know what? Why not? It looks like Nike. Let's try it on. And the people that work there, so actually the people of Vietnam in general are smaller than American sizes. So don't feel bad about yourself when you go there thinking, hey, I'm a small. And the guy's like, I'll get you a large. You will wear a large. So I first asked if I could try on a pair of these white Nike shorts in a small, and the guy basically was like, "No, you too big, you too big." And I'm like, "No, no, no, let's
My
go back
God.
home." He's like, "You, no, 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 I don't think so." And I'm like, "No, that's actually what I do." And he brings me out a large, and I was like, "Oh, can I try a medium?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "All right, fine." So I'm like, change in the open with some girl's husband who also was told, you know, you need a size 3 times larger than what you think you need. And he was not wrong. I ended up going home with that large.
Drop the ego when you go pants shopping in Vietnam.
Drop the ego. Just know that people there are sized smaller than you. We're all in this together.
Is there any other like things you didn't talk about at all that you did on your trip in general that you want to mention?
The one thing I'd say going back to Thailand, drag shows, ladyboy shows, those are big, I don't know, I guess cultural things, I guess I would say. There's drag shows everywhere and they're all really fun and they're all really good. So I would definitely go see one. You really can't miss
Mm-hmm.
them. Like they're everywhere. So just make sure you try
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I said, make sure you try a Thai massage as well. Make sure you try the street food. Yeah, those would be the big things.
If a friend asked, should I go to Thailand or should I go to Vietnam, what would you say and why?
I would say definitely yes. Especially like someone who's from here, it's so culturally different when you go there compared to what we have here. So again, religion's different. Thailand is Buddhist, Vietnam, they have temples. I don't know if they're Buddhist. I feel like they are, but it's slightly different. Either way, different religion, different food altogether, different way of life too. So again, going back like Vietnam, everyone rides motorbikes and everyone smokes and people eat in the streets and it's like really overpacked and you have a lot of family style restaurants. So that was very different compared to what we have here. Thailand, great beaches, great scenery really in both of them that we don't have here. So again, like if you're in Vietnam, you have the rice fields, you have Halong Bay or Kappa, where you have almost like these mountain type structures that, I don't know, came out of tectonic plates or something like that in the middle of the water. Like we just don't have that, right? They have like green
Mm-hmm.
water. Thailand had bright blue water. The wildlife that you see is different as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest things that are different are religion, food, and just scenery, and it's worth it to see both of them.
What's the next destination on the top of your bucket list?
Ooh, okay. So I guess the next vacation I'm going on is different than my next bucket list destination. So the next trip I'm going on is for a wedding for a friend of mine. I'm just going to BC. So
Mm,
different for me because I've never been to West Coast Canada.
really?
Yeah, never. Oh, actually, sorry, I shouldn't say
Oh my
never.
God.
I've been to Alberta once for snowboarding, but I have never been to
Mm-hmm.
BC and I've never been in the summer. So I hear that's beautiful. Looking forward to that. But yeah, bucket list item, I would say for sure I want to do Hawaii and the Philippines. I
Mm-hmm.
also, the nerdy science kid in me really wants to do the Galapagos Islands and like see the wildlife there. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do like a safari in South Africa. Those would probably be my top three. Yeah.
And I'm sure knowing you, you will do all three of them.
I hope so. Some of those I'm not bold enough to do by myself, so I got to find someone willing to go with me.
Before I let you go, we're going to do a quick segment called Rapid Fire. In
Okay.
Rapid Fire, I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions. And I want you to give me the first word that comes to mind. I'm only
Okay.
going to ask you 5 questions, okay? So I'm going to ask you a question. Just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. Best city in the world for budget travel.
It's got to be Asia for sure. I'd honestly probably say Thailand or Vietnam.
There you go. More reason to go to Thailand or Vietnam. Best hiking you've experienced in the world.
Ooh, Peru. Machu Picchu was pretty cool. Yeah,
Maybe something we can talk about another time. Most incredible meal you've ever had while traveling.
that is a tough one. I mean, I've been to Italy, so I'm gonna have to say somewhere there. I know it sounds super basic, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go Italy. And honestly, I can't even
Italy
think of which
pasta.
meal. Just in general.
Just so the viewers at home know, Samantha is Italian on both sides and doesn't like tomatoes.
I know.
In fact, does not like pomodoro sauce.
Well, you know what? They had a lot of non-tomato options for porchetta sandwiches in Florence. So I'm going to put that top of my list. I didn't have to worry about tomatoes. Got a lot of meat, got a lot of carbs. It was perfect.
What's the best accommodation you've ever stayed at?
You're asking a budget traveler here. So haven't stayed anything super bougie.
Doesn't have to be bougie to be the best one you've stayed at. You talked about two cool accommodations in this trip that weren't expensive.
Okay, I don't know if this counts because this is obviously a very niche type of person, but when I was in Peru, we had to basically hike up this cliff. It was called a Via Ferrata. So you had to go up this cliff and you stay in a pod that overlooks the valley. So you're really just staying at the edge of a cliff, which was really cool.
Whatever comes to mind first is your answer here. Thailand or Vietnam?
Thailand. I surprised myself on that one. Okay.
That's what the soul says. I mean, it sounds like both of them were really nice. So it sounds like you can't go wrong.
You can't, no.
I'm a street food girl. I like street food and markets and stuff like that. So I feel like I've naturally gravitated more towards Thailand because of your explanation. But I can see a world where both places I'd enjoy.
I think honestly for me, the food is going to be the deciding factor a lot of the time. And as much as I like the Vietnamese food, I really, really like the Thai food. So I'm going to have to go Thailand.
We actually had a few listeners submitted questions, and I'm happy that this question came up because we didn't talk about this at all. Are there any cultural customs or etiquette travelers going to Thailand or Vietnam should be aware of? And I think the angle of this question is specifically talking about going to religious temples.
Vietnam, no, there was nothing that no way you had to dress or anything for that. Thailand, yes, depending on the temple. So some temples are really informal and you can walk in with whatever you were wearing. But some of the nicer temples, you definitely have to have your full legs covered. And I think your arms also had to be covered. Don't quote me on the arms. You definitely can't be in a tank top. Like you might be allowed to wear a t-shirt. I had like
shoulders and knees type thing.
It technically is supposed to be knees, but some places still would want you to wear pants. So, you know, like the classic flowy Thai pants that have like, you know, elephant print or whatever on them. So if the places required you to wear pants, a lot of times they also sold those pants and they were like $4 or $5. Like they're pretty cheap. So they make you buy a pair of those. But yeah, so for the nice temples, they want you to put pants on, otherwise they won't let you in. You definitely can't have your shoulders showing. You might need a long sleeve. I just can't remember if you need to have your full arm covered. Okay. But Vietnam, you were fine.
Okay. Any closing thoughts or anything else you want to mention?
I would say things just to keep in mind that I learned on this trip. So one, if you're traveling with a friend, just after the experience of going to Songkran, being part of the water fight festival, or sorry, I guess water gun festival, it was not a fight. When we had your phone in the lanyard and then, you know, Rich's phone got destroyed with the water, always make sure that if you're traveling with somebody, you send your tickets to both people. Don't just like if we were traveling together to Daytona, I wouldn't just send you your ticket. I would send you both of our tickets and you would do the same to me. That way, in case one of us lost our phone, we both still have it. So that's important. I'd say if you are in a hostel, you can always lock your stuff up so you don't have to worry about that. But also, I preferred personally just to sleep with my passport, my money, and my cell phone all with me under my pillow. That was just personal preference. Most of the showers, too, are big enough that you can actually hang your clothes and your towel. And for me, my fanny pack with my passport all in there. So I didn't even have to leave that in the room. If you're going to Thailand, well, even really Vietnam, both of them are super, 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 super hot. So don't think you're going to have like a cute outfit and dress nice, ladies. You won't need that. Some places only took cash. Like one of our hostels actually only took cash, which was really annoying. And some places, well, took a deposit. So budget that when you're looking at how much money to pack. If you do have to put down a deposit, then make sure that's not all of your cash tied up there. And some places, I didn't have this in Thailand, but in Vietnam, you had to leave your passport with them and not like make a copy. Like you had to leave your actual passport with them. So just know that that's normal, even though I felt uncomfortable with it. It's just you have to if you want to stay there. And if a place is charging you in like local currency and the machine says, like say you're paying with by credit card, if the machine says you want to pay in like local currency or pay in Canadian, always pay in local currency. Otherwise you get kind of dinged twice with conversion if you convert it to Canadian dollars. So that I would just make note of.
And that, friends, is why I had Sam as my first guest on the pod, because she actually knows real travel tips. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. It was a great trip. Happy
and honestly, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I had an amazing time talking to you. I mean, the trip sounded quite, unique and exciting. And it sounds like you did a lot of things that were really fun. So
Yeah.
I'm super happy you had a nice time. And I'm so grateful that you decided to share it with us.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. It's always nice reminiscing and, looking back on things, not realizing fun things that you did and be like, oh my God, yeah, I did that. So thanks for the experience.
So there you have it, friends. Whether it's about trying street food or cooking in some random Thai jungle or staying at a Vietnamese homestay, the world is full of experiences that you don't need a luxury budget to enjoy. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share your favorite travel tips on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at wander_every_day. I want to hear about your latest adventures. Until next time, friends, happy traveling.